A global warning just hit Washington, and it didn't come from the Pentagon or the White House. It came from Jamie Dimon, the most powerful banker in America. And he said something no CEO has ever said this bluntly. If Europe collapses, America collapses next. This wasn't a political jab. It was an economic alarm bell. Because Dimon wasn't talking about slow growth or annoying regulations. He was talking about a structural failure inside Europe that is now turning into a strategic risk for the United States. Here's what he said. Europe has a real problem. They've driven business out, they've driven investment out, and they've driven innovation out. The bureaucracy is too slow, the fragmentation is too deep, and the politics are too paralyzed to respond. Europe is hollowing itself out from the inside, and the rest of the world is now feeling the consequences. But here's the part almost nobody is paying attention to. Dimon didn't frame this as Europe's problem. He framed it as America's next crisis. He said a weak Europe is bad for us, bad for our economy, bad for our security, bad for our ability to compete with China, and bad for the long-term future of the Western system. Because if Europe breaks apart or continues drifting into decline, the US loses its strongest geopolitical partner, its biggest democratic ally, and one of its most important economic stabilizers. A fragmented Europe doesn't hurt Europe first. It hurts America first. And right now, the trend lines are moving in the wrong direction. Military spending in Europe is falling back. Political unity is weakening. Industrial competitiveness is collapsing. And the internal disagreements inside the European Union are slowing everything down. Exactly at the moment when China is accelerating and when the US is shifting inward. The White House already knows this. In fact, Trump's new national security strategy essentially writes Europe off. It describes the continent as heading towards civilizational erasure. Whether you agree with that or not, the message is clear. Washington no longer sees Europe as strategically reliable. And here is the real signal buried inside Dimon's warning. JPMorgan has already started repositioning capital. The bank announced a plan to funnel $1.5 trillion into America's defense, manufacturing, supply chains, energy resilience, and advanced technologies. This is not charity. This is not politics. Dimon said it clearly. It's 100% commercial. In other words, JPMorgan sees Europe weakening. It sees global supply chains becoming unstable. It sees geopolitical pressure rising. And it sees a future where the United States cannot depend on Europe the way it used to. So the bank is building an American industrial backbone before the cracks in Europe spread. Remember this, capital always moves before governments do. And JPMorgan is now preparing for a world where Europe no longer anchors the Western economic system. This is why Dimon's warning matters. Because Europeans are not the only ones exposed. American markets are exposed too. If Europe continues to weaken, more capital will leave the continent. More savings will flee to the US. The euro will lose influence. Defense spending will spike. And global supply chains will split even further. And the biggest risk of all is the one Dimon said out loud. If Europe fragments, America first doesn't survive. Because the United States cannot contain China alone. It cannot stabilize global markets alone. And it cannot protect Western supply chains alone. A weak Europe is not a regional issue. It is a global shock forming in slow motion. And the first people sounding the alarm are not politicians. They're the people who see the money moving. This is Global Notes by JP. If you found this helpful, comment, like, share, and hit the bell. We're building the strongest macro community on the platform. One signal at a time, together.